Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Fuse News, coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube. The student occupation of Owens Park Tower is now on its 9th day. In response to widespread student unrest, the university announced a 5-point accommodation pledge on Tuesday. This includes news that rent will be reduced by 20% for the remainder of the semester, as well as flexible accommodation contracts, better maintenance support, tackling antisocial behaviour, and better study spaces. Members of the UOM rent strike and tower occupiers who have been campaigning for a 40% rent reduction for this year have rejected this proposal. I spoke with one of the tower occupants who described the university's pledge as disappointing and insulting. Here's what she had to say.
The occupation is made up of members of the UOM rent strike and the 9K for What Manchester campaign. You've said you're not leaving until Nancy Rothwell meets your demands. So what are the key demands aside from the rent reduction? Would you be happy to kind of outline them for us?
Rent reduction is the main one, and then we also are asking for the university to commit to no staff redundancies for the rest of the pandemic, and to maintain a consistent dialogue with the University of Manchester UCU branch. And we're also asking for no punishment for people on rent strike or the people currently occupying.
You're currently on day 6 of your occupation. How are you feeling?
We're feeling okay. We're quite frustrated. We received quite an insulting offer in regards to our demands. So we asked for a 40% rent reduction over the whole year, and the university has given us an offer that amounts to the equivalent of 5% rent for the whole year. So that was very disappointing to receive. We hoped that the university would meet our demands so that we'd be able to leave the occupation today, and unfortunately that's not possible.
Is the end of the occupation in sight at all? Do you have a set time when you will stop occupying the tower if you don't hear from the UD?
We haven't discussed that at all. We're really confident actually that, you know, if the university agreed to 5% today, then it won't be long before we can push that up to 40%, which is what we're asking for. You know, we are confident that the university is realising that they are in a position where they have to start meeting our demands. We haven't really had a conversation about like how long, like we're confident that the university will meet with us before we have to leave early. So yeah, however long it takes, we'll be here. We'll be waiting for our demands and for a meeting with Nancy.
On Monday, the 16th of November, MPs debated several petitions relating to university tuition fee refunds. Petitions Committee member Chris Evans MP had this to say. Please note the following clip contains references to suicide.
By encouraging students to return with the promise of a mix of in-person and online courses, many in fact found themselves being taught wholly online. This has cost them not only rent, but left many isolated in a new place they've only just moved to, without any form of a support system. As we've recently seen, Sir David, in Manchester, with the rent strike and the occupation of Owens Park by students, it is clear many feel let down. One student, Izzy Smitherman, told the BBC, "They brought us here for profit rather than our safety." Another student has said the students feel they were tricked back into university in September. Students feel greatly mistreated by the government, blamed for the rise in COVID cases, locked in accommodation in new cities with no support network, and not receiving the teaching they have paid for. The government's lack of engagement with these issues is severely damaging. The lack of clarity and difference in what students were led to believe and the reality of their teaching has affected students' mental health hugely. Since the beginning of the academic year, a student has died every week from suicide.
Racial profiling took place on Fallowfield campus last Friday. Video footage depicts a student being pinned against a wall by 3 university security guards, unprovoked, on the way back to his accommodation. Izzy, a first-year student, posted video footage of the incident to Twitter.
Give us your card. Give us your card. I record this.
I'm recording it.
I'm a University of Manchester
I'm recording
student.
it.
They're trying to snatch my card from me. I'm saying it's not his card. You see, I take this racial profiling. You man didn't go for him. You came for me, blood. You came for me. Take my card. Read what it says. Read what it says. Read what it says. What does it say? What does it say? What's my name? Read it out loud. Read it out loud. Is that me? Let's go.
The student involved, Zach Adan, said he has been left traumatised by the events. The university is currently investigating the incident and the security involved have been suspended. The BBC reports that Nancy Rothwell has written to Zach Adan to apologise, but that she could not commit to meeting him due to the ongoing inquiry. A University of Manchester spokesperson said, "We are deeply concerned by the images. We have spoken to the student concerned, launched a full investigation, and have suspended the security officers without prejudice pending the results of this investigation. Students arranged protests on Sunday and Monday evening in response to the incident. Zach and another Manchester student named Marcel gave speeches on their experiences of racial profiling on campus."
Don't know the guy personally that racially attacked us. That's what it was. It was an attack. Like, mine was a lot more subtle, and I'm not going to claim that it's as big as that was, because it definitely wasn't. But that guy's a first year. Like, he's one of you guys, and he's going home, and he got mistaken for a drug dealer because he's black. Are you the student that was racially profiled?
Yeah, literally happened on that wall right there. It's just so good and like so heartwarming to see so many familiar faces that I see every day. The incident happened on Friday. I didn't know whether I wanted to post it. In like 40 hours now, I haven't slept for 40 hours. But when it happened, I went to seek help from 3 other security guards. They started mocking me. They said, "Don't call the race card. If you're really hurt, you can call an ambulance for you. But other than that, you're going to have to wait till Monday morning." The Chancellor was told, she was informed. The Vice Chancellor was told, she was informed. The Head of Diversity and Equality at the University was informed. Still told me to wait Monday morning.
There is a glimmer of hope this week, as it was revealed that the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID vaccine appears to protect 94% of adults over 65 years old. Tom Grant has more on the story.
Yes, Pippa, many are saying that this is the first good news that we've had for a while. A breakthrough in COVID-19 research has made UK ministers consider relaxing coronavirus restrictions so families can celebrate Christmas together. The government has ordered 40 million doses of this vaccine, along with 100 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is being trialled in Oxford. The Oxford coronavirus vaccine has also shown a strong immune response in adults in their 60s and 70s, and ministers hope the first doses of the vaccine could be administered as early as the end of this month. Across the rest of the world, other nations and bodies have bought vaccines from these firms, with the EU purchasing 500 million doses from English pharma giant AstraZeneca. Russian President Vladimir Putin has claimed that their vaccine, Sputnik V, could be up to 92% effective from early trials. In other news, this week, the University of Manchester has announced a general outline for plans to help students return home safely for the Christmas holidays. George has more on this story.
Hi, I'm George and you're watching Fuse TV. The university is in discussions over providing mass testing to all students who intend on returning home for Christmas. In her weekly update on the 12th of November, President and Vice-Chancellor Nancy Rothwell wrote that the university is establishing the logistics of offering tests to a large number of students in quite a short time window and developing guidance to students on travel arrangements. On the 19th of November, the Vice-Chancellor revealed that the university is planning on testing up to 42,000 students. This comes after the government announced that university students will be able to travel home in time for Christmas and is in discussion with universities to provide mass testing for students. The government is planning to use lateral flow devices, which do not require laboratory processing and can provide results within an hour in the nationwide scheme. Unlike some UK universities, Manchester has chosen not to run its own programme of testing for students until now. This has led to backlash from students due to extremely high rates of COVID in the student community this semester, which were for some time the highest in the country. In comparison, some other UK universities, such as Oxford University, have devised an extremely efficient testing programme. I spoke to Harry, a student at Oxford, about his experiences. We've got Harry, who's a student at Oxford University, and he's going to tell us about his experience with coronavirus testing. So how are you, Harry?
I'm good, mate, thanks.
Just in terms of testing, what's the testing situation been like in Oxford?
It's good. You just need to book a test sort of the day. You can book it about 6 o'clock the day before in the evening and get it about 11 the next day. So and then the results come back 2 days later or 1 day later. So it's quick turnaround.
Do they make you get tested?
If someone's in close contact with someone who tests positive, so someone will test positive if they think they've got will get a test if they think they've got symptoms, and then they'll be asked to write a list of people they've come into contact with, and all of those people have to go get tests. And then if any of them test positive, their household in college has to go into isolation.
So that all sounds pretty organised. Would you agree?
Yeah,
with that?
it is quite. Yeah.
And then I assume that isolation is also enforced pretty strongly.
Yeah. You get meals delivered and everything. So two a day. And I think they could just tell whether you went out or not because you have to put a key on the door. So, but I haven't heard of anyone breaking the rules, to be honest.
And finally, what's your opinion on universities like Manchester where the testing is very disorganised?
It seems a bit mental, to be honest, but I think for the tutors, I guess it's a bit more dangerous if you're not too focused on the testing because it's easy to pass it on to older people, but which is definitely a positive here.
Yeah, totally agreed. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Don't worry, mate.
So as you can tell from that exchange, the testing at Manchester University has been very different to that of Oxford University. For example, at Oxford University, they have testing facilities, multiple around campus, whereas at Manchester University, the nearest one was a half-an-hour bus ride away until very recently, where they put in a testing facility into campus after everyone's already had it. Also, isolation is properly enforced there, whereas at Manchester it hasn't been at all. And they are forced to test at Oxford University if they've had contact with someone who's had it, whereas at Manchester they don't enforce this at all. Discussion about how students will return home safely for Christmas is ongoing. Allegedly, the government has plans to stagger departure dates for students and will coordinate institutions across the country to ensure that the transport infrastructure is not overwhelmed. Universities must move classes online by the 9th of December. In the case where a student tests positive for COVID-19 during this period, the student must self-isolate for 10 days and may then return home in time for Christmas. And now for the international headlines.
Thanks, George. Good afternoon. I am Anurag and you're watching Fuse News. From coronavirus spike to new hijab law in New Zealand, there's a lot happened this week around the globe. So here we are with top 5 global news of the week. Watch our report. Global tally of COVID positive cases has crossed 56 million mark, out of which 1.3 million people have lost their lives due to this virus. Globally, US, India, Brazil, UK, Italy, France and Russia are most affected countries. After witnessing its deadliest days since early May, the United States will soon have recorded more than 250,000 coronavirus fatalities. Nearly 1,900 deaths were reported on Wednesday as the country again set a record for the number of patients hospitalized. On the other hand, according to WHO, one person is dying from the coronavirus every 17 seconds in Europe as the pandemic continues to risk overwhelming national health system around the continent. The Russian parliament's lower house, the Duma, has passed a bill granting Russian presidents and their families immunity from criminal prosecution after they leave the office. The bill increases speculation about Russian President Vladimir Putin's political future. He has been in power since 2000 and his 4th term ends in 2024, but recent constitutional amendment will allow him to run for 2 more terms after that. This latest bill stipulates that Putin will receive lifelong protection from criminal and administrative prosecution after the end of his term. This means that he is not allowed to be prosecuted, detained, arrested, searched, interrogated, or personally searched. New Zealand police have introduced a hijab as part of their official uniform to encourage more Muslim women to join the forces. Newly recruited constable Zina Ali will become the first officer to wear the official hijab. A New Zealand police spokesperson said they aim to create an inclusive service environment reflecting the country's diverse community. Forces in UK such as the London Metropolitan Police and Scotland Police also offer the option of a uniform hijab. New Zealand police said process to develop the hijab for its uniform began in late 2018 in response to a request from police staff who visited secondary schools. A British diplomat has been hailed as a hero after diving into a river in China to save a drowning student. British Consul General in Chongqing Stephen Ellison was walking by a river in a nearby village when a young woman slipped down rocks into the deep water. Video filmed by onlookers showed her struggle in the fast-moving current and emerged face down, apparently unconscious. Ellison took off his shoes and dived in to save her. Ellison said the student, who is from Wuhan and attends Chongqing University, was shaken by the experience and recovering slowly, but she was extremely grateful and has invited him to dinner with her family by next weekend. Ellison belongs to Newcastle and he is head of the British mission in Chongqing. And on Wednesday, the Boeing 737 MAX airliner was cleared to fly again, 20 months after two disasters that exposed lethal design flaws, poor management, and oversight failures by the American aviation regulator. The US Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) said it was satisfied that software changes and extra training had made the twin-engine jet immune to the malfunctions that led to crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia in 2018 and 2019 respectively, in which a total of 346 passengers and crew were killed. According to sources, after the resumption of flight, Boeing will be running a 24-hour war room to monitor all MAX flights for potential problems, from stuck landing gear to health emergencies. But for now, questions remain over how quickly other regulators, especially in China and Europe, will lift their flight ban. So that's all from Global Health Trends for this week. Now my colleague Pipa will take you for more stories.
COVID is at its peak. Winter is here, and the situation is going to be worse for homeless people. One student society at the University of Manchester has achieved something really big for this social cause by organising their 24 hours live virtual event. Here's a short video of the event. As you have seen, the Run Wild Society of the University of Manchester has organised the second edition of the Manchester 24-hour Run Against Homelessness event. Due to COVID, this event was virtual, meaning participants were running separately, socially distanced and on different timings on a relay format, and they are providing their running updates online. As per our last update, they have raised more than £3,777, which is £777 higher than their target. They have raised this money to support the local Manchester homelessness charity, A Bed Every Night. The charity aims to provide shelter and support to those who are sleeping on the streets and are unable to access other accommodations or shelter. The charity is also supported by Manchester's Mayor Andy Burnham. This event began on Wednesday at 1200 hours and finished just after 24 hours on Thursday, but donation lines are still open for raising more funds. 226 participants joined the event and have done 314 runs, which totals at 2,569 kilometres. This is equal to running from Thurso in northernmost Scotland to Penzance in southernmost England and back. Fuse News reached out to the Run Wild team to see what their secretary, Ben Dockrell, had to say on this.
Hey guys, so we're on lap 31 now of our relay. So the run leaders from Run Wild, we are trying to keep the relay aspect of the 24 hours going. So we've had pairs of us running 5 kilometres every 30 minutes for the 24 hours from 12 till 12, Wednesday to Thursday. We've also got everyone else joining in virtually, so people running when they can, wherever they want, for however far they want, however many times they want, and sending it in to us and helping to get our total up to, well, we've passed it now, but up past 1,400 kilometres. We're trying to raise money for the Greater Manchester's Mayor's charity, which is A Bed Every Night, which is looking to give beds to people here who are sleeping rough and making sure they don't have to spend a night like this on the streets. We're almost at our £3,000 target, which is great, and we're only in the middle of the night, so that's really good. Thanks to everyone who's donated and who's run with us, and yeah, we're really pleased with how it's going.
That's all from us today at Fuse News. Tune in next Friday for our weekly update.